about violence against women and children in Tanzania, which is, as a topic, very close to what we are doing at CCIJ at this moment, because we are working on, a series of stories about gender-based violence by state actors in Africa, led by our colleague Caroline Thompson, who is also attending this session. So, Francis, thanks very much for your interest in participating and presenting. You have 10 to 15 minutes to present us your work. Thank you. And before that, sorry, last kind of point, we can have a very, very short Q&A with Francis and Antoine right after their presentations, mostly about, what tools they used, where did they find the data, and maybe their sources, but very brief. And then we will have some extra Q&A time at the end of both presentations and at the end of this session. Thanks, Francis. Go ahead. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me clearly.
Okay. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so this is about violence against women and children. In Tanzania, because this is specifically in Tanzania, because I am more knowledgeable about what's happening here. So, you answer this later on. Of course, in 2017, the government of Tanzania implemented a national plan to end violence against women and children. This was because of the effects and the economic effects that were, of course, known by that time. And of course, in that national plan, Tanzania showed in that report, like we lose 7% of the GDP just because of this violence against women and children. However, of course, the national plan was implemented from 2017 to 2022, and now we are in 2023. So I have chosen to check if there's any improvement into what they have planned into that national plan. So what we have seen is so many issues almost the same or even worse, even after the implementation of this national plan not to end violence against women and children. And so here you can see, still people are killed, mostly women are killed accused of witchcraft, domestic violence, intimate partner killings, still getting high because of some laws have been left as they are. However, they were acknowledged in the national plan, like they are the ones that are promoting violence against women and children. So you can see the hands. Sorry if this picture disturbs anybody. This is a picture of a young girl. This is Yuzuhura Yunus, who was severely beaten by his biological father, using the clubs and some other objects. And it was on 21st January 2021, and I was very close to that house, so I was asked to go and help her. So I took each and every initiatives to take them to the authorities to check how to protect this child from this abuse. For that day, she was beaten badly to the extent that she couldn't even chew. It was very bad to the extent that even the way she was speaking was somehow it was challenging for her. I was more talking to her mother than she is. And the father left the house and said, like, if he comes back, he will continue beating the child for her to speak what he wanted to hear from her. It was very bad. So this will be the story for today, which I will actually tell more about why am I saying it is important to check this national plan to end violence against women and children. So still, the accusations, the domestic violence, rapes, child, and everything is almost the same. And here you can see like the data from the inmate killings. The number of women killed from 2010 to 2015 is women are more killed. It is the number of women is two times larger than the number of men. And the abuse that I have said before about the Zuhura Yunus, Zuhura was not the only person who was beaten by his father. Even the wife was beaten as well. And she was always being abused every now and then, and she kept it silent. And even at that time, when we went to the police officers to check how can we protect Zuhura, you know, she was somehow protective to protect his husband, just because he said if it could be any measures to be taken against him, then the wife would be in trouble. It is that the mindset, and that is why these intimate killings are getting higher and higher, because women are afraid of the men, and they are always threatening them. Like, if you take this to the authorities, I will kill you. And I have given another example of Hamisi. Hamisi killed his wife. Of course, he was accused of killing his wife, and then he burned her body and burning the ashes and on the farm where he planted a banana tree on top of it. This is more than any person can imagine. You know, to kill somebody, to burn, to take the ashes and bury them, and then plant a tree on top of it. Of course, he was later on even threatening the journalists in the courtyards, saying like he's not well, so he can kill anybody. At that time, when we were following the story, and still you can see even the number of rapes are still getting high. And this you can see from the graph, the number of women that are raped is even higher from the time that the National Plan to End Violence Against Women and Children has been implemented. It is almost, if you take the average number from 2017 to 2020, the number is 50% bigger than the percentage change is 50% compared to the incidence of rapes that were happening from 2013 to 2016. So if we get into the story of Zuhura, then you can, of course, that I was close to them at that time. I was living very close to them, and many incidences were happening right there. That man was abusive, not only beating his wife and children and the child and other people, but he was always having these girls who are underage, having them there, and it was like justified for him doing that. And even in the story of Zuhura, who was severely beaten, you know, I got the community hatred. Like, why am I doing it? Why am I taking it to the court, to the police officers? Why am I publishing the story? Why am I doing this and that? The whole community was against me. I mean, and the authorities, the police officers were against me, and I have to leave the place just to shift to another house, and my boss helped me on that. This shows even the understanding of abuses to the people is very it has not improved anyhow, because you can say the village leaders are against the person who is trying to protect a child, or the police officers in the welfare desk are against me as well, because that was a very bad experience that I have had at that time. And of course, it is what now brings to the number of women that are murdered. The number from the graph, you can see it is like the graph is going down, but in reality is the number of women that are murdered is still high. And you can see 12% of the people who have been killed, of women who have been killed from 2015 to 2022, 12% have been killed because of them being accused of witchcraft. But the intimate killings are even higher. That comprises 31% of the women that are killed. You know, and this is why we need to have a certain understanding about the gender violence and everything. So after implementation, what has happened? If you can see, like nothing has changed because the mindset of the people is almost the same. 2021 was not. It's just the year, 1 year before the end of the national plan, at the end of the implementation of the national plan to end violence. But still, it was in a way that I asked the police when I was following this story of Zuhura Ayub, like, why, where are you going to take this child after taking some measures to the father? They have no place to put the, I mean, to keep the child. They had no place. They don't have a place for it. So it is like, this is why even the family was against me. Like if they were feeling like if the husband is going to be in custody, they won't have anybody who can get them food. And even the, like, who is going to take care of the family, and they have nowhere to put the child. This is almost the same to these intimate killings, the beatings and everything. You cannot report them because these people do not show the they don't cooperate. Recently, I just have one story of the father who have raped his daughter, and of course the whole family was protecting him. I took some measures to make sure like the child is protected and the father is going to take into account. Of course, I'm still following the story. So the issue is about the national plan to end violence against women and children has ended, but still the society setup is still justifying the abuses that are happening in the streets. And of course, laws that are abused are unamended. The Marriage Act still allows the girl of 14 to be married. Of course, now it is a very great debate, as the Muslims in the country have said the age of 14 is the right age for a girl to be married, and it's now debatable. The Penal Code criminalizes most of the reproduction rights. And it still convicts juveniles for being rogues and vagabonds. Of course, I've done a study about jailing these rogues and vagabonds. In 2020, 17 juveniles were jailed for being idle and disorderly, for being idle. I took it in an economic way. Doing it is criminalizing poverty. Those people who are arrested are homeless, and if you arrest them for this issue, you are going against what should be done. You convict a juvenile instead of sending them to school to make them prosper. This is very bad. And corporal punishments in schools are still justified by the law. Recently, we have seen a video of a school teacher, the head teacher of the school, punishing a girl, beating her on this side of the legs, I mean, of the foot, you know, beating the lower side of the foot. The girl couldn't even stand after being beaten that way because the shoes were taken off, and he was beaten that way just because of missing a homework. And children's welfare has been left to the parent, even if abuse happens. So if a father abuses a child, still the welfare is on the parent. So the government has nowhere to put the child. They will just say, like, you should not repeat this kind of punishments, please, and that's it. And for the corporal punishments, we have seen a number of schools killing children, killing pupils, just because of the community punishments. In this year, we have 2 students, pupils, who have been killed for these corporal punishments from the teachers. And it is because it is justified. What the government says is it should not be recorded. Like those teachers, the other teachers who are around the scene should not record the occasion to share with the social media. This is what they have said, instead of amending these laws to make sure like the environment for the violence is actually is limited, to make nobody to have the room for it. So this is the end of my presentation, and of course I just want to get back here. saying the data that I have used in this presentation, I have taken them from the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, UNODC, and of course I have taken some other data from crime reports of National Bureau of Statistics, and I've used Google Sheets. These reports were from 2014 to 2020, so I just open the report and take the numbers that I want to present. I put them in the Google Sheet and prepare these graphs and everything. So I use this data, especially to see the significance between the difference of the years. I mean, the killings from 2013 to 2015, what the difference between the death of 2015 to above to 2020. And of course, I've used the Canva. This is Canva for data entry and cleaning and visualizing. So the visualizing you are seeing here are from this Canva. The Canva is the one that has got good visualizations than Excel or Google Sheet. So that's marked the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Francis. Thanks for preparing the presentation and for sharing this very important topic with us. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask Francis right now, data-related questions or tool-related questions, although he already mentioned them. I have one question for you very quickly, Francis. Because you used data that was already available in the Bureau of National Statistics of Tanzania and the crime reports and everything. Is there any other kind of archive or website that lists this kind of information that you would like to exploit as a potential data source and you didn't do because you didn't know how to do it?
No, of course, it is only National Bureau of Statistics that has got these data. There is no other other website that can provide these statistics.
Thanks. People, questions for Francis or comments before we move to Antoine and his presentation?
Yeah, hi. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Francis, I'm Janelle O'Day. I am over here in the States, in St. Louis, Missouri. And I wanted to know if you had to request that data or were you able to find it somewhere online already?
The data was there. It is in public domain. You can see I can provide a link to the data, the climb statistics, and they have all this data. But the other data from UNODC, of course, it is also in a public domain. So I didn't request anything. I can scroll here to find the crime statistics. Here they are. So please. You can see the data in this link I have shared in the chat. Oh, I see there are another question from Yux1 about witchcraft from UNODC. No, from UNODC, the data are on the intimate killings and femicides, but for witchcraft as well from the NBS, National Bureau of Statistics of Tanzania. So in these crime reports, you can see the number of women who have been killed and why they have been killed from intimacy or from being accused of witchcraft.
And we have another question from Betty, from Liberia, in a country where data is difficult to get. What's the best strategy you would advise? Maybe, Francis, you want to talk to it, and maybe I can share my thoughts at the end of the session.
Yeah, okay, Betty. Even in Tanzania, getting data is very difficult. And the Statistics Act of Tanzania prohibits any person to execute his or her own data. But of course, you can record. You can record these when the things are happening. You can just record them and put them. And of course, using the established newspapers, you can get the number of cases that have been reported. If you can make it, then you can see the number of women of anything that you have you wanted to study. That's what I can suggest. And of course, we should make the best use of these scholarly articles, because sometimes they have very good data in them, which we can actually use in telling stories.
Thank you so much, Francis, for answering the question. I want to be mindful of our time. And Francis, if you agree, you can now stop sharing your screen and maybe Antoine can take over. But before that, let me introduce Antoine, because he has been someone who has really been around many places and many different projects. So Antoine is from Belgium, and he has traveled a lot. He has stayed in Cambodia for a year where he was teaching English in local high schools. He's trained in web strategy and has worked as a community manager. He also took an internship in a startup that measured the performance of press articles on social networks. And this was where he was really heard about data analytics for the first time. And then after that, he became a language trainer and activist with various groups in Europe and abroad. He learned data analytics online on DataCamp, which is quite impressive if you ask me. And at the moment, he's working with a French-speaking investigative outlet based in Brussels that investigates the connection between deforestation and tax havens within BlackRock's assets, which is quite, very interesting to our investigations and our data-related work. So please, Antoine, go ahead, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the
Antoine, your sound is not good for me, maybe for other people as well. No. Okay, let's give it another try.
Should be better. Is it working now? Okay.
It's better. It's much better. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much to Francis Nyonzo for the incredible story just before. So okay, just a little thing first. The story I'm going to talk about right now is about deforestation in BlackRock and tax havens, but it's not actually what I'm working on right now. I'm trying to expand the story because this is from 2021. So I'm just going to share my screen now, right there. So this is the context of this story here. This is the change finance campaign that I joined after a few other things. I ended up during the pandemic joining this campaign, and I was working with open data at the time, trying to investigate financial data in Europe with a group called Open Knowledge Foundation. And at the time, they were the people at Change Finance were trying to investigate BlackRock and find some stories to tell about BlackRock. Now, the problem we had is that there's very little data available on this, right? So I looked for BlackRock on the open data platforms of Europe, and there was nothing very interesting. So during one of the Zoom calls at Change Finance, we met forestandfinance.org. So I totally recommend this website for open data on deforestation. and the financial the finance behind it. So they're always looking for new stories. So if you're really if you're into this sort of topic, please go ahead and contact them and look for data on their website. They just have a lot of tools you can explore. But the data I used for this investigation on deforestation and tax havens was different, because we needed another layer of data to be able to identify tax havens inside BlackRock investments in deforestation. And the purpose for this, of course, was to demonstrate that BlackRock not only caused deforestation, but it does so by endangering, but basically robbing countries from tax income, and also endangering the rule of law inside those countries and promoting corruption. So this layer of data was not available in Forest and Finance. So I had to ask Forest and Finance to give me access to their research data, which was difficult. And this is it right there. I'm just showing you. This is something that actually I'm not supposed to show because for some reason the consultant, the external consultant who provided data to Forest and Finance doesn't agree to let this data out. And this is all coming from Refinitiv. So Refinitiv Refinitiv, I will just type it somewhere in the discussion, just the name. Refinitiv database, right there. So it's a huge database of financial data where you can find just a lot of information, but it's not easy to find access to this database. And this here is showing the same data set that I had from Forest and Finance, but containing all the research information that was on the inside of Forest and Finance and their consulting officer from the other consulting group, with whom I had a discussion that was a little bit difficult because they didn't want to look for tax havens. So the person I was talking to wasn't interested in looking for tax havens because they were considering that deforestation and tax havens are different things, right? Now, coming from a more from a different point of view, a different political point of view as an activist, I wanted to join these two things, of course, and I did so in a long report that I will share later. You will see some of the graphs I made for this. But before, okay, let's go a little bit in the technical side. So this here is the financial identifier of a company called Adeco Agro. Adeco Agro is the first one in the list by alphabetical order. And these letters here, LU, are the first letters of the country Luxembourg, which is the issuing country that we need, right? And this is how you identify, this is how I identified tax havens in this list of financial products. So just to show you how complex these data sets are, here you have all on the left here, you have different lines for different identification numbers. No, sorry, different lines for the same identification number. That's because because you have different BlackRock institutions attached to different clients, right? I don't know if you're familiar with BlackRock. BlackRock is an asset manager. They manage investment for different clients. So according to the geographical location of their clients, they will have a different domicile to sell them products, right? So this, of course, complex things tremendously. I didn't use this layer, so I had to simplify all these data sets at some point. Now, just to show you how you do this, right? So this is not the work I've done, right? This is the work that was done by Forest and Finance. So this is on oil total. So here we have Archer, Daniels and Midland over here, that you can see it, but this is Archer, Daniel, Midland. This is a big American company. traders in grain and food products, food commodities. So this is in millions of dollars. I believe these are millions of dollars. This is the total in palm oil, and they have a breakdown by country, right? Which is really super intense in terms of numbers. So I'm sorry if it's really technical. All these columns I had to simplify, of course. I didn't use much of it, right? I would show you what I ended up with. So of course, here you have, I think it's Central Africa over here, right? Central and West Africa for palm oil. And here, this is pulp and paper. This is rubber. And we can see some more of African data here. There's a lot of zero columns. Lots of zero columns really means that there's a lack of data in this data set for Africa, like clearly a big lack of data. And for the next investigation I would like to do, I would like to focus on Africa. So it will be the case because I would like to focus on mining, to be precise. Mining, tax havens, and BlackRock. That's the next thing. But yes, so Southeast Asia here. Okay, you can see where it's going. Now, my own data set is here, so that's the final data set I used. I used several data sets, but I'm just going to be showing you this one here. So it's a bit messy here. These two columns don't matter on the left here. I'm just going to do that right there. It's better. So you have the ISIN is still here, but now you have one line per ISIN, and you have the country code. The BM is for Bermuda, and I only selected tax havens. Now, how did I decide that which country is a tax haven or not? I did it using the CTHI index. So it's the Corporate Tax Haven Index created by the Tax Justice Network. And here you have an index of tax havenry, if you will, like how much of a tax haven these countries are. And these are established by specialists and economists in the field. So it's much easier than trying to decide yourself whether a country is a tax haven or not. So you have a score of tax havenry right there before Bermuda. And then a score for China, which is 58. It's not bad for China, right? And then you have, what else? United Kingdom is 63, so there. France is 56, so just a little bit lower than China. Singapore is 81, naturally. Luxembourg is just 72. And then you have scale weight. That is really interesting. This is how much these financial centers influence, not influence, but it's actually the number of transactions, of financial transactions operated in these offshore financial centers. So Bermuda counts for 2%, almost 2% of the global financial transactions. Let's just sink in, right? Let's just that sink in a little bit. It's an enormous number, actually. Luxembourg is 10% of all financial transactions in the world, right? I live in Belgium, so it's over there. So I just, it's a big target for me, Luxembourg. So right there. So you have the borrowers, the shareholding right there. So it's I only selected shareholding because BlackRock is invest vastly more of his capital in equity, so in shares, not debt. There is debt, but it's a very small part of BlackRock assets compared to the size of debt in general. Okay, stop it there. So now these numbers here are bigger now. All those numbers are bigger because all the columns were simplified. Right, all these numbers were distributed over in a broader data set. All of this has been compiled so that now we have sums. So all these numbers are bigger now, basically the same numbers, but oops, I hope I didn't twitch or anything. Did I correct it? No, I hope so. Yes. Ooh, damn, I made a mistake here. I changed a number. Crazy. All right, sorry. So I should put some protection on this so I don't change anything. Yes, thank you, Sotiris. It's nothing like, yes, you should like that. Yes. So you have the parents. All of this is actually data. It's actually columns that I switched to the right because I wasn't going to use. So it's all stuff that I didn't use. All of this stuff here I didn't use, so I just put it on the right, and put everything on the left where I was going to use it, when I was going to use it. So now what I did in terms of graphically, this is what you obtain in the end. So you have the groups here, and of course it is just a small part of the groups. I made a selection based on the quantitative importance in the investments. Relationship between tax havens and forest risk companies. So here we have only tax havens, right? I can show you some graphs later if you want to see all the companies, right? I can tell you already that almost 2/3 of the investment in forest risk companies was in Japanese companies. Actually, Japanese companies are very are a great forest risk problem. Basically, they cause a lot of deforestation, but they're not considered a tax haven. Interestingly enough, these mega banks, Japanese mega banks, are not considered because Japan is not a tax haven. These Japanese mega banks are not in the data I used eventually. So US, of course, US is for Archer Daniel ADM, Archer Daniels Midland, which is mostly active in South America and Brazil. The BM here is Bermuda, so I talked a lot about Bermuda, just a lot. The fascinating stuff about Bermuda and the food commodity thing. There's just also like an offshore insurance business in Bermuda that is extremely worrying, to be honest. So this is $3.5 billion in total, not much compared to the size of the whole business, but because of course BlackRock is about $10 trillion in total. So in terms of the investment of BlackRock inside these companies of forest risk companies located in tax havens is just $3.4 billion. It's not much on the size compared to, like, relative to the size of BlackRock. Bermuda. So we have Bunch, which is this European American company located in Bermuda. After they changed location a few times, eventually they ended up in Bermuda. And then Jordan Mason, and Jordan Mason is like a very interesting group. If you haven't heard about them, it's not surprising. They're quite discreet. It's a Scottish group who started their business in the beginning of the 20th century with the Opium Wars, because they were some of the traders who were selling opium to China before the Opium Wars, and they started and they've been located in Hong Kong until the 1980s because China was threatening their business, and so they moved operations. They moved their HQ to Bermuda in the 80s, just before the transfer, the Passover. I think the word is the Passover. There's an expression for it, but when basically authority on Hong Kong was transferred to China. And now Jordan Mason is intensively investing everywhere in Asia still, and especially in Indonesia, where it's influencing government to decrease the barrier to investments, which means increasing deforestation. All of that from their Bermudian domicile. So the other companies are of a similar nature. Basically, just interesting to note that China, France, and Finland, of course, are not usually considered tax havens, but they are in the sense that they are promoting their own companies fiscally, right? So they are promoting their own corporations. They are giving a fiscal advantage to their own corporations when it comes to investing outside. So they basically try to keep their own companies located on their own territories by giving them fiscal advantage, which is also happening in Belgium. But Belgium is just not present here because they don't have investment in forest risk companies. But we do have investments in mining companies, which is why now the focus I would like to focus more on mining, especially mining in DRC, in Democratic Republic of Congo. There, so I think that's it. Yes, yeah, what else can I say? Yes, this is my blog over here, campaigning against BlackRock, almost all of the information you need. So this is on Medium, Show Me Finance over there, medium.com/Show Me Finance. This is the first article here, where you can find the report. And just before if I have a bit of time, you can see a bit more of no, okay, that's it.
Yeah, go
Sotiris.
ahead.
Okay,
Go
I will
ahead.
stop.
No
No, I
worries.
will stop. Okay, well,
Could you please share the link of the Medium article to the chat so
Sure.
that people can, and
Sure,
both
of
you,
course.
Francis and Antoine, let me know if you want me to share your emails with the rest of the group here. I have them handy if you want to continue the conversation with our attendees.
I will share it myself immediately. Oh, I didn't see your message, Sotiris, sorry, for
No
the
worries.
time limit. So here's my email. What you're looking at right now is the forest impact of BlackRock investment from all countries. So it's the forest impact distributed by countries, right? But it's actually problematic data, because it's all coming from, because as you can see, most of the real forest impact is coming from Brazil and Malaysia, right? Which is actually countries that are where the forest is located, right? And all the countries are less impacted because basically they are tax havens and they withhold information on the investment. So this is the forest risk investment in equity from all countries. So this is what I wanted to show you actually. This is where you see Japan over here, Bermuda and the US here in red, tax havens. Forest risk companies are in green. So you can see that the vast majority of the investment is from the outside of these countries, right? Yeah, you have Japan on top, but Bermuda and the US are very important in this, naturally. Now I will stop, and sorry for taking too much time.
Thank you so much, Antoine, and no worries at all. Impressive work, impressive presentation. If people have questions, please go ahead and ask both Antoine and Francis or me and our CCIJ team who is attending this call. From my side, one question I have for Antoine is, how has building your own data set helped you in this investigation, and what information you managed to gather that was not available in other data sets?
Well, when I came up with this data set, when I was handed down this data set, basically, I was astounded by the data that I could find there. And I was also very much in trouble because I had built a team of volunteers, insiders of the financial world, who were willing to contribute and look into ecological and ethical problems in finance. And suddenly, because this data set was attached with strings, because it was like a proprietary data set that I wasn't supposed to show, now all my former volunteering colleagues couldn't work with it because they were risking their careers. So for me, one of the major takeaway from this, not in terms of data, but just in terms of the legal aspects of data, is that we need more open data, and we need these data sets to be available broadly, and to push for a broader transparency, financial transparency. That's my main take on this.
That's such a nice way to put it, and a great message. And I couldn't agree more with you, because in our data related work, we are always facing this kind of obstacles, and some legal threats can be quite, discouraging, to say the least, if not dangerous. And I really hope that you, Francis and Antoine, are safe, both physically, digitally, and when it comes to legal issues, which is something that we could totally organize a session around around this topic, all the legal issues that might arise from this kind of use of data sets, or, you know, or the process of scraping websites, or, you know, getting access to data that you are not supposed to use, and how can we, you know, overcome these issues and these problems. I want to open the floor to more people to ask questions to our two great presenters. Please go ahead, write them in the chat, or just open your mics and ask them directly. Anybody? George, please.
Yeah, so quickly, I have a quick question. Great presentations. Thank you both, Antoine and Francis, man. Especially being into financial investigations, Antoine, that was very useful. I have a question for Francis. I mean, I'm based in South Africa. I know a lot of these cases, like especially what you're dealing with, are underreported to the police station. So, you know, is there any other sources, just for my own personal use as well, that you would go to? Maybe NGOs that deal with the issue, and then you can extrapolate from one region an NGO works with to the country? Because but do you find them to be reliable? You know, because I know such cases, they, like in South Africa, I know they are underreported, and there's a way that they extrapolate. They say, well, actually, you know, this is what we think is the real number, the correct number of cases of abuse.
So the policies in Tanzania are somehow not cooperative. It is the role of the one who seeks data to record the incidences, because they always say somebody's in charge of it, somebody's in charge of it, and you cannot find somebody who can give you data, and they don't even publish them in their websites. So the issue is, if they give the press, they always give the press releases every week. But what they always do in a press release is to give how many arms they have collected, how many people have been arrested for proper things. These underreported things are not even reported in the press releases. So it is just the function of the journalists to collect from the various medias that are existing within the area to see how many issues have been reported at that time. But they cannot show cooperation, because everyone is in fear of giving the data that can make him or her accountable.
Thank you, Francis. Thank you, George, for the question. We have still some time to take extra questions, so please feel free to turn your mics on and go ahead. And thanks, Antoine, for sharing your links to the chat. Maybe I can ask a couple of questions to everyone here related to these two sessions that we have had already. I'm just curious whether there are any insights that are emerging from these two presentations for today, and if you see any vantage points that have these presentations given you about building your own data sets, especially for people that haven't done this before. Do you feel that you are more equipped now to start digging into different sources and using different tools to start thinking of creating your own data sets? Or you need something really, really technical to help get you going?
Maybe I'm Ushi, I'm from CCIJ as well. Maybe I can just also reply to Francis and also answer some of the Sotiris questions. It's really interesting that you mentioned some of these on media, or on when they are doing TV, on the TV, they're releasing some of the data. I was looking at like the Nigeria election data set recently, and it's the same thing. They have like a ANEC portal, they have a portal for election data, but it's not updated. But if you're looking at it on TV, they are like reading out a huge spreadsheet of the election data, and it has everything in there. They're gonna read it for like days, and it has all the data. That's the most recent data. Like if you want to know what's the election result, that's the most immediate way of getting it. And the same thing for like when I was looking at some of the data in South Africa as well. It's in like a municipality governor on the TV. He was saying something. It's like how many treatment works that's damaged. But if you look up on the government website or anywhere, you cannot find what those data is. Then you have to send like prior request, like from the Information Act to the government. I'm not sure if Tanzania have like the personal, like you can request information from the government or not. But I think that's a really interesting insight on like how to obtain some of the data in Africa, especially in countries where these data are not that available. Thanks.
Just to respond to that, you can ask for data, but it is always a tiresome process.
I love
Is there something else I can help with?
Sorry, that's my Siri.
Can you hear me? Okay, it is a tiresome process to ask for data, especially when we don't have a direct person to contact. So the Information Act gives a journalist that privilege of asking for data, but when you ask for them for the data, especially in the government institutions, which is always a back and forth, that kind of thing. There is an ICT officer and a communications officer. They don't know who is actually in charge of the data. So they always send you to another person. They're just keeping you like that. And this is why we of course, we have been advocating for the implementation of the access to information, to have the information on the public domains, because each and every institution has got a website, so they can publish them there, to avoid this kind of going and asking for data every now and then, while the access to information has already mentioned the data that no one can have access to. So all the other data that we can have access, they should be in the public domain. This is what we have been advocating for. But recently, you can ask for a data. If you have somebody, then it's going to be good for you to get them easily. And actually, mind you, if the source misleads you anyhow, you are going to be convicted by the Media Services Act. The media house can even be banned for some time. It has happened. So one of the media in Tanzania, it has been banned for a known period for almost a year, just for missing a figure in exchange rates.
That's crazy. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you just for the question.
You say, can I just come in here? You say, I'm sorry, I have some noisy background, so I just
sorry for interrupting.
So yeah, the point you made, you see, it's a very good case, because truly, can you hear me?
Yes, but your sound is breaking and we cannot really hear what you want to say. So maybe type your question in the chat. And we only have 1 minute left for remarks. So
can you hear me?
I'm afraid we can't really. So just to wrap up, thank you everyone for joining this session. Ajibola, if you can hear me, please send your question to either Francis or Antoine. And in the meantime, Antoine, I'm totally going to get in touch with you because I have extra questions to ask about your data set and how we could, other people could use it. Esther, would you like?
I can stay.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
Okay.
So Sotiris, yes, before we let you go, first, thank you so much to Antoine, to Francis, and of course, Sotiris. CCIJ is going to continue to provide these professional learning sessions focused on data, actually. So in April and May, Ajibola, who you just heard kind of garbled, but that's Ajibola, that's our African editor, as well as Carolyn Thompson, who is overseeing our gender-based violence story series. They'll be leading a session on OSINT and how to use that, so check that out. And then in June, Yushi, who is our data fellow, she's going to lead a session around ChatGPT and Kaggle, I think it's Kaggle, for data analysis and visualization. And then in August, we're going to have Mike Morrissey from Muckrock. We're going to have Marissa Kwiatkowski from USA Today and Kate Doyle from National Security Archive to talk about how to FOIA, as we say it here in the States, or how do you get public records. So those 3 particular sessions should be really useful for folks like yourself and others. So please, if you are not on our mailing list, email me. We'll get you on there to ensure that you receive those announcements. Lastly, we do have a 30-second, I really mean it, a 30-second evaluation once you leave the session. Please fill that out so that we know that we are doing either well or that we have room for improvement. Let us know. And so with that, we are at the top of the hour. Thank you so much, everybody. Again, thank you, Sotiris, for leading such a fabulous 2-part session. I wish you well for the remainder of the day for you. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.